Well,
incidentally, well done, Brighton.
Yeah, playing well at the moment. Got some great results recently. The Arsenal and Tottenham victories as well. I actually didn't see the game, so when I turned on the result, I saw it, and I just, for whatever reason, I don't know how it's got to this, I wasn't particularly shocked. I honestly wasn't.
4-0 Brighton.
That's the truth. I was a little bit forced, a bit heavy, but I didn't expect them to. If I'd have seen any result other than a Brighton win, I probably would have been more surprised the way United are at the minute. And that says something. And that's the truth. That really is the truth. I wasn't that surprised. I think I looked at the team and I thought to myself, he might have played a load of kids, like near the end of the season, played some of the young lads, give them a chance.
Yeah.
And maybe been too much for them. But no, the team was solid, wasn't it?
So, does Ten Hag coming in, is he the first one post-Fergie who's arriving when expectations are at an all-time low?
Yeah.
And that could work in his favour?
Well, I don't think the expectation... Yeah, lower than it has been maybe, but it's not low, is it, at Manchester United? You still have... Is it at
the moment, mate? Expectations.
They'll still be expecting a massive improvement.
You just said it wasn't a shot that they get thumped for.
No, but when he comes in, the hope around the club will rise. And I tell you something, after 2 months, if they're not winning some games and sitting in the top four, he'll start getting criticised. Make no bones. He hasn't got enough credit in the bank to go more than a few months without getting results.
Yeah.
If Pep or Klopp took over, I know this is ridiculous extreme, but if they walked in the door tomorrow at United fans wouldn't be getting on the back of Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp after 3 months because they'd understand that it'll come good because they've been there and done it. He's managed Ajax. That's it.
The thing is,
so he's there under pressure straight away. The only thing I would say for him is that it's not a hard act to follow, is it?
No, exactly. You wonder what is going through the players' minds, Simon. Bruno Fernandes, who has been really good to us in this show, we've asked United, Bruno's come on and joined us. He says post-match, what I did today was not enough to be in a Manchester United shirt. So why did you do it?
It's just noise, that.
Well, it's just noise, isn't it? I mean, we've heard this repeatedly. We get the robotic trot out from Harry Maguire, don't we? We get the staple diet of David De Gea telling us everything in front of him is not good enough. And now we've got Bruno Fernandes. We've got Bruno Fernandes waving behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's back about attribute the blame to us. And now we've got Bruno Fernandes doing the same thing. The more this happens towards the end of the season, the more Erik Ten Hag is going to be liking this because he's going to pick this up and be able to run with it. He's going to be able to drive a wedge into those that think. I mean, Graham Souness said it yesterday. There's a lot of players out there that think they're something that they're not. Right? They think they're good. They think they're at their level, then they're nowhere near it. They're not winners, and they need to be woken up. And there needs to be a change. And I think Ten Hag will see this. If I'm in his shoes, I'll be watching this going, get beat again, because I'll pick this up, I'll grasp it, because I am going to go in there. And we talk about new brooms, and new brooms only ever sweep clean, or should only ever sweep clean once they've had a look themselves. And then they sweep clean if they need to, right? You don't just go in and go, well, I'm going to get rid of everybody because I can. That's stupidity. You go in there and you look at it and go, right, well, actually, you are what I thought you are. You can stay, you can go, right? That's what you do if you're sensible. But I think with this situation, Brighton played very well. Man United were a mile off. They weren't a mile off against Brentford 5 days earlier or 6 days earlier, but Brentford were poor on that occasion. Yeah.
Now, but specifically, Simon, I want your take on this man Rangnick, who sold you a dummy, may I say, my good friend, because at the start you were like, I like the cut of his chin.
I bought a pup, yeah.
Right. Well, Souness said to me, you mentioned Souness, up in Glasgow, he said to me right at the outset, this ain't going to work. No. He's not going to work. Now, Rangnick revealed pre-match that the United board rejected his recommendation to sign a new striker in January, and he felt that was costly. So pre-match, he thought it was appropriate to say this.
The answer at the time was no, there is no player on the market that would really help us. Well, there were a few. Diaz, who is now in Liverpool, Alvarez, who will be at Manchester City in the summer, Vlahovic, who at the time still was with Fiorentina. So those are just 3 of them that come across my mind now.
Was it a question of finances then? Was it a question of money?
I don't know. The answer was no, and that was it.
I don't know what kind of consultant this man's going to be, right? Because move away from the fact that I've got it completely wrong about what I thought he was going to do, right? And move into territory of he hasn't spoken to Ten Hag. So what consultant is he in terms of the most important decision being made, which is the appointment of a manager? He doesn't know why they aren't able to sign players in January. And he's now talking out about what kind of consultant. So basically, he's a consultant for nothing. When we talked about money for old rope, and I made a defence of the fact that 6 days a month for a board member in many businesses is not an unreasonable thing. And Martin was going off on some tangent about he didn't understand what that meant. Right? But the bottom line is that what have you got with this guy? What has he done? Danny makes a case that we could have put anybody in there and he'd done just as badly as he's done. And now, all of a sudden, he's getting a set of balls. We didn't hear this in January, did we, when it was something meaningful to be said?
No, exactly.
Ralf Rangnick is now irrelevant. He's irrelevant moving forward. It doesn't matter what comes out in the press or comes out of his mouth. It's irrelevant. His say is going to be zero. He's not going to have an influence on that club after what he's done. There's no doubt. If he hasn't had
but he can speak to the truth. And it might be some interesting dynamics because the questions are now going to start abounding.
Well, let's analyse the truth.
Why isn't United by players? Because he was, Greenwood, in the situation he found himself in, the other kid, Martial, which I would have sent him off on a bus, right, and paid the fare because he was a waste of time. Yeah. But the bottom line is you take these two players out of commission, you've also got Marcus Rashford in a terrible vein of form. He's right in what he's saying. So it's going to provoke questions, isn't it, when you start speaking?
You're right. So, Danny, here's a question. Why did the board not help him?
Well, because he wasn't going to be there long term, so they could have brought someone in who didn't fit the mould of what the new manager might want, who they hadn't put in place yet.
At that stage, she might have fancied the job full time.
Furthermore, whoever they brought in, were they going to score more goals between that point, January, and now than Ronaldo has? And what would he have done with Ronaldo, with all his strong managerial traits that he's got? How would he have dealt with that problem? I think he'd have given himself a massive headache. It was probably a bonus. He's saying it now, but it was probably a bonus they didn't get someone in.
Yeah, but Danny, they needed more than Ronaldo at that time. They were in a few competitions.
If you brought Diaz in, or if you brought Vlahovic in, or any of those, because he's a centre-forward, Ronaldo might play, might not, whatever, how's that going to help them concede in the amount of goals they have?
That's right.
How's that going to help them track runners, win second balls, communicate better, step up higher? How's that going to make them better defensively? Even if they'd have brought in all three, they might have scored a few more goals. That's it. Because I tell you what, the only reason they concede so many goals, the only reason they're not fit enough and they don't have a tactical plan is because of the manager. Simple as that. So he can use all the excuses he wants. Ralf Rangnick has failed miserably in his task, and his opinion is now irrelevant. His words are now irrelevant. They might provoke some thought and questions on this show or other media outlets.
Yeah.
But from Manchester United moving forward from a footballing angle, his voice is now mute.
If you're one of the Glazers, Simon,
pay him up.
Would you offer him a consultancy role, or would you chase him?
Not based upon what I've seen now.
Do you think they'd let him take the Austria job if they thought he was important enough to be around there?
But they are bringing him into the fold and giving him a contract as a consultant.
Leaving him in the fold.
Well, okay. Well, they're bringing him into the fold now because the fold can be just unfolded and he can be removed. So they're bringing him in and keeping him in, or retaining him, or whatever we want to say.
I'd be amazed if he
I can't see what he's achieved and what he's so far from what he thought. Maybe because we don't understand the level and depth of the problem he's playing with, because I do think what Graham said was absolutely right. There's some wrong-uns in that dressing room, and there's some people in that football club that shouldn't be there, and they need to get rid of them.
If you're in the board this morning, Simon, are you happy that Rangnick said that?
No, I'm not. I'm not happy with anything about him now. I'm looking at the whole dynamic and saying I don't see what it is that you're going to bring going forward. But then we'd have the argument, okay, what are they doing? What are United? Because we've got this bloody thing with United where they don't seem to recruit anybody of any substance in what's a significant positions. Put Ten Hag to one side, right? But around the framework, which helps build a big football club, are all the best in class. And we don't seem to have any of that at United.
Would you give him a consultancy role?
I can't really see why. I mean, if this was a job audition, which part of it would you say that was a successful candidate you really want to employ?
It's a different role, Jim.
What's his mark out of 10?
Oh, I think he's in the low 4s.
It's a different role anyway. But the fact is, if he's not been involved in communicating with the current manager who they're given the job,
what is he consulting on?
What is he consulting on?
Exactly. Yeah.
If
he can't influence them to buy players and here was the argument: you buy a player, and it might not be for the next manager, but he's a bleeding consultant. He shouldn't be. If he's going to consult, it's because if someone's going to take some advice from him, right? So with that in mind, you would have thought that he would have had the blueprint to be able to suggest to the board a certain type of player, because he talks well about himself when he's talking about Erling Haaland and all those other players, and he talks about Sadio Mane and other players that came through underneath his regime.
Well,
he takes a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
So he will know, if he's a football person that understands what Manchester United want in the short-term, intermediate and long-term game, then he should have been able to recommend players that are going to be fit for purpose. But the thing is, in January, he thought he was in the box seat for the manager's job.
That's right. That's right. So Manchester United fans, do you want Rangnick about the place beyond this season? Do you want him around? Do you want him around?
Of course they don't.
Well, let's hear. There are some who are saying, Rangnick, you got to give him a bit of a pass because of the players who he has not had at his disposal.
Show me.
Simon mentioned the Greenwood situation. Maybe Greenwood might have been thrown in there, someone's just said. Maybe he would have, but would he have made any difference at Brighton? Probably not, because as you said, Danny, it's the back lot who stank the place out on Saturday night as well. And is embarrassment for Manchester United no longer a surprise? It's some question. Keen to hear from you. 03717 223344 81089.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.